her not being vaccinated was reported on there multiple times as an issue that needed to be addressed, and there needs to be a solution on their part to that. It blows my mind that they can do this and get away with it.
I'm Jeremy Loffredo for Rebel News at the Children's Mercy Hospital in Kansas City, Missouri. Effectively, the hospital has medically kidnapped a 10-year-old girl because her parents made clear that they were not satisfied with the care she was being given and they wanted a second medical opinion. This is the use and abuse of Evelyn Young. The hospital has turned Evelyn's custody over to the state after the parents became upset at Children's Mercy doctors who, by using dubious pharmaceutical drugs, caused Evelyn a serious brain injury and temporarily blinded her.
I complied, and we still lost our kid because I wanted a second medical opinion. You can't ask for a second medical opinion at CMH. That insults their sense of authority. And so, CPS, this person doesn't love their kid enough. It's terrifying to know they have this kind of power over every single family that walks through this door.
This is a giant overreach by this supposedly prestigious research institution that has taken dozens of children through processes which are concerningly secretive. But there actually is a way you can help. Rebel has hired a great lawyer right outside of Kansas City who is determined to return Evelyn back to her parents. Here's attorney Chris Schilt, a lawyer with 25 years of experience under her belt, speaking with me about the case.
Our first goal is to get the custody of Evelyn back to Justin and Jesse. And I think that if we can get reasonable people to look at the facts in this case, I think it's very obvious on our side that this is not a medical neglect case. This is a case of two parents who have done an enormous amount of research and want to do what is best for their child. And so questioning any type of medication or procedure or wanting a second opinion is not neglect in our eyes. It is actually doing their due diligence and being good parents.
We have a website set up already. It's saveevelyn.com. There you can donate to finance this lawyer, $5, $50, whatever you can. You can also sign our petition, which I'm going to personally bring to the hospital's board of directors, saveevelyn.com. The reason they took Evelyn might be more political than medical. Here's her father explaining how most of the court papers the hospital is using to kidnap Evelyn mentions the fact that she's unvaccinated and homeschooled, much more than it mentions anything about her current medical condition.
Her not being vaccinated was reported on there multiple times as an issue that needed to be addressed, and there needs to be a solution on their part to that. So that's one point of neglect. Also in the reports, we homeschool, and that was in there a lot. And I'm just curious, when they report on other kids, if they know, they go to public school. I'm just not sure why that is an important note. Her education status when we're here for medical reasons, not educational reasons. It blows my mind that they can do this and get away with it.
This is clearly discrimination against the family's values. Go to saveevelyn.com to donate or sign our petition. Get involved any way you can. Children's Mercy Hospital has done this so many times before. Here's Mother Tiffany Adams, whose 8-year-old son Jackson was stolen from her after she asked Children's Mercy doctors if the hospital could use less prescription drugs on her son.
First of all, they had been caring for Jackson pretty exclusively for 4 years. He was not getting any better at all. In fact, to be honest with you, he was getting worse. He looked like a walking skeleton. We wanted our child to get better. We wanted him to gain weight. We wanted to take him off some of the medications so that he could be a normal little 8-year-old boy, run around, play. And when we asked for a second opinion, they just flipped out. We had a care team meeting, and one of the things we wanted to discuss with them was all the medication that our son was on. And we asked them if they could transition him off of some of them slowly, or if there was anything he could do without. And they said, no. In an angry voice, he's too medically fragile. He can't be without any of this. And so I said, even his ADHD medicine, he sleeps all day. Does he really need that? Absolutely. We asked to take Jackson, all of his care out of Children's Mercy, and to another local hospital until we could get him somewhere that could help him. And the doctor immediately flipped out. That was not okay. She was not okay with us requesting a second opinion. and telling her that we were going to get medical care elsewhere. Even though we had all of his care already set up, we had appointments set up, he wasn't going to be without care at all. At that point, Dr. Hoffman made a threat that she would make sure that we never saw our children again, specifically my son. And at that point, I essentially told her our visit was over. What did she mean? And she started laughing with an evil laugh, said, you're going to know what I mean. And I told my ex-husband and I, let's go. We need to leave. We left. 15 minutes later, she made a hotline call to Child Protective Services. September 17th, they removed our child from our home.
And where did they put him?
They put him in Children's Mercy.
When they kidnapped him, they effectively tortured him, restraining him to a bed and allowing him to defecate in his pants.
Yeah, so they took Jackson. They put him in the hospital. Jackson was absolutely terrified. He had never spent a night, an hour there by himself. So he was terrified. Jackson tried to pick up the phone to call me, to ask me where I was at. So the nurse then came and took the phone out of his room and told him he had to stay in his room. Again, he was freaking out. He was scared. At that point, he decided to run down the stairwell and pull the fire alarm because he thought if he got everybody distracted, he could escape and get home. Well, when they caught him, they then restrained him to his bed. And then they put a pull-up on a child who doesn't need one. He's always went to the bathroom since he was 18 months old, and wouldn't come take him to the restroom. Only time he was allowed unhandcuffed was when they were sitting in the room watching him eat. So he pooped his pants, was screaming. He said for a long time, that was his exact words. Nobody would come change his pull-up. So finally he screamed, "I shit my pants," and was screaming at the top of his lungs. And somebody finally came in his room to discover he had a bleeding rash on his butt. That's unacceptable.
It's torturous.
Absolutely. You don't do that. I mean, this is all after the Dr. Hoffman that had made the hotline report stood in his room for over 8 hours and tortured this kid and told him that he would never, ever see us again.
How many, roughly, other parents that this has happened to at that hospital?
At this point, it's hundreds.
Hundreds of parents.
Hundreds of parents.
The hospital is so politically connected in local and regional politics that they were able to lobby a judge and get Tiffany to stop talking to the media about the hospital's practices, and also made her take down a Facebook page which aimed to raise awareness about her son and Children's Mercy.
So they had threatened me for a few court hearings, and I basically told them that I had a constitutional right to speak to the media. Well, there was this judge that I was in front of, and he told me, "Miss Adams," and he smashed his gavel on the thing, "if you don't stop speaking to the media immediately, I'm going to make an example out of you." And I said, "What does that mean?" And he said, "You don't want to find out what that means. Do you understand me?" And I said, "Are you threatening me?" And he said, "No, I promise." And I shut up. I knew what he meant.
So
I knew what he meant.
They didn't want you to speak to the media because you were...
I was exposing them, and I was exposing everything that happened at that hospital. I mean, they have my children. That's every mother's heart. When you threaten to take somebody's kids for good and make an example out of them, I still have a Facebook page for my son that had at one point 500,000 followers, and they told me that I better take it down immediately because I didn't do it. They actually stopped my visits.
We don't want this to happen to Evelyn. We don't want her to be abused by the hospital, and we don't want her parents to be silenced. If we act now, get the lawyer going and head to court, we can right this wrong and save Evelyn. You can only help by going to saveevelyn.com. Please help us pay for Evelyn's lawyer and sign our petition. That's saveevelyn.com. If you believe giant research, quote, health institutions should not be working with the government in order to steal children away from loving parents by the way of procedures which are shrouded in secrecy, then help save Evelyn Young at saveevelyn.com. That's saveevelyn.com.